Okay, now let's see if I'm on cue here. Our next presenter, let me get here, Pat Connelly. The title of her presentation is Blue Moon Dance Company. It's a photo history from 1995 to 2014. The photography credits for this presentation go to John Hill, Josh Lawton, photography, David Andrews, and Jesse Rarick. Did I say that right, Rarick? Okay. Blue Moon Dance Company was formed by accident, as most of us here today are an accident. In 1995, a multimedia concert was scheduled. How many of you were really planned? In 1995, a multimedia concert was scheduled for the Denver Art Museum. The event coordinator saw Pat Connelly and two male partners performing her original choreography. 2 days later, Pat was signing the contract for the creation of 6 dances using 12 dancers to be performed with the Hot Tomatoes Orchestra. When asked the name of her company, all she could think of was that this came along once in a... Huh? You can't call my crowd slow. 20 years later, Blue Moon Dance Company is an active nonprofit organization. Company members have won multiple awards for choreography, performed throughout Colorado, and worked as an inclusive group. I'm trying to think if I've got anything on the other page, and that sums it up. But anyway, at this point, let us bring her up. Let her give us this beautiful intro to dance. If any of you feel like dancing and want to get up, don't. Okay? Don't. Have you ever seen people at a dance who can't dance and everybody does the same move? It's like, wow. So don't do it, please, please. Anyway, at this time, let's give her a warm Pachakacha welcome.
Thank you. It could also be that I heard the song Blue Moon in the car on the way down. There's a couple of different stories going around about that. But it is true, I never wanted a dance company. I never wanted to run a dance studio. I had been working as an individual artist or with a partner. I started, my mother was a professional ballroom dancer, and I started in ballroom. When I was in college, my roommate dragged me to a dance workshop with Alvin Ailey, and I fell in love with modern dance. And my mother was horrified. She thought I'd starve to death. So I came out here for graduate school and never left, like a lot of people. And as I look at my dancers, Toby, all the stories with them, Toby, the first time I taught her a lift, looked at me and said, "You do it first." And I was like, okay, I like getting lifted. And then afterwards, every time a lift went wrong, she was like, "That's fun, let's do it again." Meanwhile, I'm thinking, she's gonna get killed on there. So she now is a executive director of a dance company in Broomfield. So a lot of our dancers have gone out and formed their own. We just love lifts. And even though we've had, over the years, 76 dancers, 35 of them became choreographers for the company, and the average length at the company is 4 years. So we get to hang around and know each other for a while, and we just come up with more and more wacky ideas to lift each other. When we were having that one photographed, Landon got really red in the face because the photographer was just saying, "A little bit longer, let me do another one, let me do another one." And she was just holding her breath, trying to do it. Ying, who is there, is still dancing with us after 13 years. His choreography, we are trying to find a new venue for it. He did a piece several years ago using multimedia, using paint and music. But it gets a little messy. At the end, dancers are lifting others up and dumping them like head first or feet first into the bucket of paint and throwing it against the wall and something like that. So we had to do it on plastic, and we had to take our bows on the plastic so that we wouldn't get the floor completely trashed with it. And people always ask how we get our ideas for choreography. Sometimes it's just we get into a weird shape and say, where will that go? So that shape, we could not do, we had to start the piece in darkness and let the light grow as she grew, because it wasn't really pretty getting into the shape. It was just pretty getting out of it. And then it became a longer piece. Julius's wife always would say, "Where is her head?" And he's like, so you have to make sure that you're significant other is on board with what you're doing too, because you come home with bruises in little unusual places. The photographers have a little bit of trouble sometimes because they can't get a lot of our lifts when they're moving, they get blurry. Or they to get the full shot, they have to back up. Landon's only 4'11", so we got her legs into the frame, where Sol's legs, Julius had to kneel down because she just went way out off the frame. And she actually saw that picture. The Boulder Library used it for Dances for Everybody, which this year is November 9th. She was walking down the street and saw herself. And like, oh my goodness, when did that happen? Blown up really big. And it happened to Yuki when she went into a coffee shop and saw herself too. It's interesting because the photos don't really convey the sense of the movement to get in and out, but it looks so much cleaner when they're not moving. And there's only one couple instead of three trying to do it at the same time, and everybody a little bit off. And as a choreographer, you're going, no, that's not right on there. This one is from one of my favorite pieces about, done to Christine Lavin, who is a local singer with the Mother Folkers. They call themselves the most carefully pronounced name in folk music. And the piece was I Want to Be Lonely Again. And then the way we get dancers, my aim was, because Alvin Ailey was the first company I studied with, he had the phrase, the brotherhood of man, and that we had to remember as dancers that we are performing for an audience, and that the audience is a participant in our dance. And also that he didn't want just his choreography in his shows. He used other people's choreography to create different points of view. So it's very important to me that whenever there's a performance, we have dancers in the company choreographing, because we get to see sometimes even the same subject, but someone goes off on a totally different tangent to get to that same idea. And it really does work for us that we have dancers that come from circus arts, from ballroom, from ballet, from modern, from hip hop, and yet they all work together, which is really pretty. Ajay Abankwa is with the Bao Bao Festival. He was with the Ghanaian National Dance Company for 11 years. And he stepped in when Ying, the man in the other photo, couldn't do one of our shows, we found out in August for an October show, because he had gotten married to a wife he met in one of my dance classes, but she was in Poland, and he had to go over to Poland for more paperwork. So Ajay stepped in and covered for us and was a member of the company for 4 or 5 years, which was great. But his method of rehearsing was very different than ours. He didn't like the constant repetition that we're trained to do. He would look at something, get it, and then do it. And it drove us crazy. But he was a very good performer. And Chris and Emily also studied acro yoga to try to get more and more dangerous and very, sometimes I hold my breath when they're performing because you never know what will go wrong. Seth was on the football team at Boulder High when he first choreographed with Yuki from Japan. And when he was lifting her, her toe got stuck in his leotard. And he's trying to lower her and her leg's not going anywhere. So that happened several times. He finally changed his costume in there. And then this is from one of my newer pieces. I teach wedding dances for couples. And after a wedding, one of the brides gave me her dress. I immediately took the wedding dress and got a game bag made out of cheesecloth from McGuckin's and did a piece on abuse. She wasn't really thrilled because that wasn't how she thought the dress would be used. But it was very, very dramatic and I liked it. You never know what the subconscious is going to tell you to do when you choreograph. And as I say thank you, I do have to thank the fact that we are a nonprofit and we're funded by the Boulder Arts Commission, the Boulder County Arts Alliance, and SCFD, which will be up for reauthorization soon. So please, everybody, vote for that because the arts are important. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Well, there you got to see the beauty of motion, music, and photography. Great.